Hey, welcome to Diversity in Cinema Academy. I'm Theta Catalan, and this is the place to be if you're an indie filmmaker, video creator, and screenwriter. So all this month, I am dropping 24 filmmaking tips till Christmas. And so we have already gone through quite a few videos. So if you're new to this series, go ahead and check out those other ones as well. I mean, you can stay here for now and check this one out because it's going to be all about production design, but then you can go ahead and check out some of the other videos that take you from the idea stage all the way to the director's vision, so, and all of that in between. So what we have came up with is that we're going to be talking about creating a Christmas movie with an ultra low budget film, because a lot of times new filmmakers are usually can muster up, about 50 grand, 100 grand, maybe even 200 grand to get their first film out of the idea stage and onto the screen, right? So, but obviously you with a small budget, you have some challenges. But one of the things that I've seen a lot of new filmmakers do is that they want to create these big grand stories where they have like 20 locations, 20 actors, plus 100 different, extras and all of that. And all of that costs a lot of money. And then with a Christmas film, now you have all of these decorations that you have to add to the budget as well. Because typically I would tell you on an ultra low budget film is that try to find a location that is pretty much already set to how you want it to be, and you just have to bring in a few little things, that doesn't cost a whole lot of money, but you just need it to help tell the story. So that is the smart way to go about doing an ultra low budget film, finding a location that pretty much looks like how you want it. Now with the Christmas movie, that may not necessarily be the case, because now we have all of these wonderful decorations that you have to choose from. And one of the worst things that you can do with a Christmas movie is not develop the set correctly for that particular character. And I've seen this in a movie before where the character seemed like she was upper middle class, but she had like decorations from like almost seemed like the 80s, it was very sparse, and it looked cheap. Let's just say that the decorations look cheap, even though she was living in this nice big home in a suburban neighborhood. Like I said, it seemed like she was upper middle class. That would cheapen your film quickly, and that sometimes helps people decide if they want to stick around and watch the whole thing or not. Now, if you have a great story, they probably will stick around, so that's why story is always important, but it still won't stop them from saying like,
well, it was a cool enough story. I watched the whole thing, but it did look cheap.
And you don't want people to walk away and say that, right? So that's what you need to think about when you are deciding on your set design. And so the person who does that is the production designer. They're the ones who come up with the whole concept, especially if you got this whole merry Santa land, it's just, it's inspiring. The snow pole. What is it called? I'm having a brain for it. North Pole. Yeah, the North Pole, and all that kind of stuff, where it's just this wonderland. And that costs a lot of money if you want to do that. So again, if you're doing a contained film, you may not necessarily do that. You might want to do something that maybe the average person, maybe a working class person or a lower middle class person, that, the decorations that they would do in their homes. So it may not necessarily be a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, but it may be just, a little bit better, and it wouldn't be like super maybe sophisticated where you're spending money on different type of decorations that your budget can't afford. So say for instance, maybe a character who's a little more upper middle class, they may buy, and especially if they like glamorous stuff, they may buy, decorations like this that cost a little bit more, or if they can't necessarily afford, you know, some of this stuff that costs maybe $10-15, then they might just buy something like this where you get a whole bunch of balls in a pack that, you know, maybe you getting like 20-30 balls that cost you $15. You know what I mean? So those are things when you're thinking about characters on what type of stuff that they may necessarily have in their home. So again, you know, maybe a character who is a little bit more sophisticated might like a gold tree like this. Okay? And so that is what a set decorator do after talking to the production designer. So the production designer come up with the grand scheme of things. But to be honest with you, on an ultra low budget film, you may not necessarily be able to afford a production designer and have a whole team. Because I mean, this will be a whole team of people trying to put this together, right? You might just have that set decorator and, you know, their assistant helping, and then you might not be able to afford the assistant either. They might just be somebody, you know, that volunteered to work as a PA in that department. So that's something to keep in mind. So the set decorator is the one who's going to come and who's going to decorate this Christmas tree, come and decorate the house and all that kind of stuff. But the production designer also works with the costumer, and they also work with the makeup department and the hair department, special effects. All of that falls under the production designer. And so one of the things that the production designer do is create a color palette. So say for instance, my color theme that I have for my house is the traditional colors. You know, I have the reds and I have the greens. And then obviously I include some golds as well. I have little snowflakes and stuff like that. So that, as you know, if you was talking to the costumer, then like the colors that I have on a lot of the traditional colors that you will find with my set decoration. And so that's why they create a color palette. So if you ever watched the movie, you notice that if they have creams, like if I decided to do gold, like gold was my colors for my decorations. And so if everything was like gold, then you may find people wearing like gold clothes or creams, or, you know, like a light brown or something, you know, natural tone, something like that. So that is something that you need to think about when you are deciding on what is the look for your characters. So again, if it was somebody who was super sophisticated and like glamorous stuff, maybe their tree would be gold. But if you wanted, like if it's a comedy, because one thing about comedies is that the colors are usually bright and vivacious, and that is something to think about. All right, so that is it all about the production design. Obviously, there's a whole lot more. You can build sets. You can do so much more, but I'm just giving a few little tips for my 24 filmmaking tips till Christmas. So if you want to know a little bit more about what a production designer do, you can go to Diversity in Cinema Academy's website and check out the job profile section for the production designer and the set decorator, and it'll give you, you know, a whole list of things that what that particular position does for a film set. So the next video in this series is for hair, makeup, and wardrobe. Okay, I just I just named the next 3 videos. So really the next video is hair. So I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, thanks for tuning in to my 24 filmmaking tips till Christmas. If you are enjoying this series, be sure to visit Diversity in Cinema Academy's website, where they have a ton of resources there. If you're interested in leveling up your film business, you can check out my online course,